There is different success on YouTube, and when you're really looking to grow on YouTube, there's a lot of different factors that you need to consider if you're really serious about taking it to the next level. Now, I know a lot of you that are on the stream and a lot of you that are watching this as a replay might have all the components that you need, but you're missing that just one little thing that's going to help you push you over the edge. Now, I'm really excited because I've been on YouTube since 2005. I've built audiences my whole career, and I can't wait for this one because this is probably the best one that I'm ever going to do. Because the content creator that's coming on was able to catch the vision of how to transform content the right way. And that's where you actually seen massive growth on YouTube. And I can tell you, once you start understanding the components that really matter, what success really looks like, and you're literally seeing the things that you actually should put your focus and attention on, that's when you see the massive growth on YouTube. Now, I can tell you, I've worked with content creators my full career, and I'm really excited about this one because Matt's not only someone that came on and was a part of my program channel Jumpstart, but we're partners, and I love him to death. He's one of the most authentic people that you'll ever meet, and he's pretty crazy smart. And so there's a lot to learn here today. So much to learn today about success on YouTube. And I think the biggest thing about this is about really sometimes when we approach it, we overcomplicate it, and we need to take a step back and to gather it in. And so I hope that you really watch this and engage with this content, because this right here is probably the most important thing for every channel, regardless of what it is. And when you wrap your mind around it, then you're able to see, oh, I get it. This is how I need to apply it for my channel. And I've seen so many people reach out after they learn this concept because they've seen massive growth. So who is ready? Go ahead and put it in the comments. Really excited because I actually have my brother, Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Fantastic, Daryl.
Well, I'm excited for this one for multiple reasons. Because the first time we met, you called my cell phone randomly.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, and I get this phone call. And you're like, hey, you don't know me. I hear you do YouTube. Yeah, bring everybody up.
I didn't even know the scope of what you did at all. I just got your phone number from a friend. He's like, don't tell him where you got this phone number from.
So you're like, hey, let's do lunch. And I'm like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard let's do lunch in my life. But what was interesting was kind of your journey. You're kind of explaining you're actually down the street from where I'm at. And so you did say who gave you the phone number to, just by the way. And then I'm like, okay, I trust them to give you, them. So we'll have that conversation. But you started your YouTube journey, and you really wanted to take this seriously. But why did you start YouTube? What was the deal? And then also let people know what you do if they haven't figured that out yet.
So I am not a fantastic planner, and YouTube wasn't a big plan of mine. I didn't have any long-term goals. So it's kind of the way that I came into YouTube was it was just something interesting to do. So I had friends that were interested in what I was doing, and I had a little bit of a Facebook following, and I'm like, okay, I could get more people. I can get what I'm doing to more people on YouTube. So
yeah, I love that. And then you were actually doing the edit on your iPad, right? So you're like trying
iPhone. The entire YouTube channel for like a year and a half was entirely, because I don't do laptops, I don't do desktop computers. Everything was my phone.
So you started, and you started to get a little traction, and like when you actually started to post to this and you started getting views, couple hundred and couple thousand, like what did that do to you as a creator? Did it get you excited about things, or you're just like, yeah, whatever?
No, I was excited. I was surprised that as many people liked it, and I did a bunch of research, because even though I'm not a great planner, I don't like to totally go into something blind. So I was even watching some of your stuff, watching Nick Nimmin's stuff, couple other like YouTube help, And also listening to people in the comments complain about the algorithm, and I'm like, why does everybody hate this algorithm? And learning about that, and then um finding that what I was doing, what people were liking, so the algorithm was picking me up. But I didn't have a lot of consistency. Like, I didn't have any consistency. I didn't
Right.
have retention consistency. I didn't have consistency from video to video, and I didn't understand all the pieces that would bring that consistency. So
Yes.
that's really why I reached out to you.
No, and I love it. And I can tell you that a lot of content creators here on YouTube, they go through the same cycle. You know, they'll go in, have a little little bit of success, or they have great ideas. They're trying to get resources. You know, they're watching videos, trying to understand the algorithm, trying to understand things that they don't know, start on the community and trying to be better. And I can tell you that a lot of people that is watching this currently right now would fall into that same category. You know, there are different levels for sure. But I think the big thing is, and this is one thing that I literally want everyone to understand, there's a lot of information out there. And you can go on information overload. I'm here to tell you, you can get information overload, trying things, so many things. You're like trying 10 things in your next video, and you really can't tell if it worked or not. And you're like, oh, maybe it didn't work, and I wasted all my time or whatever. There's a lot of energy wasted, and I truly do believe this. It's like there are so many things that you need to focus in on that it can be overwhelming. And ultimately, what I look at is let's scale it way back and just focus in on a few key things that YouTube really cares about, and then everything else will be taken care of. I really do believe that. I think everything else can be taken care of. And so, what was there a point that you're like you got a little frustrated that you weren't growing on YouTube even before you reached out to me? Was it just kind of, hey, how do we take it to the next level? Did you ever have that go through your mind?
Well, I was at a point where it was taking an enormous amount of time, and I wasn't getting enough return for that time. And so I knew that I was gonna have to level up or cut back. Like,
Yeah.
I it I was doing I was doing all the editing, like, the all of it, and I cut sleep out of my life because 'cause I'm very busy, I got a lot of stuff to do. And so, um, that was, yeah, that was where I was at, was like, "Okay, I've gotta figure this out." And there's only so much I could get off from watching, because there's a lot of conflicting information, um, out there when you're trying to learn how to YouTube. So, I'd heard about VidSummit, but all these things were like, they weren't part of my life, and I didn't know anybody that was in the business at all. So it was fortunate that somebody put a bug in my ear that you were the guy to talk to. So,
Yeah, well, let's kind of dive right into this, and I think everyone kind of feels the weight too. Hey, they're serious about YouTube. They're juggling five other things. You know, is it really worth it? And I want to talk about this moment right here. And this is like you got a lot of video views on a specific video. I mean, you're if you look at the videos that you're doing prior, I mean, this was like 20x or even higher. You got a ton of views on this, and I want to talk about this video specifically right here. So you had 2.1 million video views, and you had a lot of views in a couple of days. What was going through your mind on what was happening here? And let's kind of break it down, because I want to talk about the things that you did right, and then also the things that you didn't really capitalize on.
right. So when this job came in, we're gonna film it, we're gonna try to tell this story, and I still haven't I don't know how to read the analytics, and I don't know what they mean. Like, I can look at them, but I don't know what they mean, and I would, like, I was given information, as I was learning, like, "Don't compare your channel to other channels. Should just compare it to yourself and try to grow." But I didn't you don't even know, like, is 30% retention good or is it bad? And then
Right.
you look it up and it's like, well, it depends on how long the video is and who your audience is and all these other factors. It could be a really amazing number, or it could mean that your channel is in the dumps. So it was really frustrating not to know why, well, like exactly why it was performing the way it did, and if it's performing good or bad. Like that was a lot of what was going through my head. I needed to find out where I really was.
Yeah.
And and then can I do another video and get these kind of numbers? And how do I do it? Like, is it totally just random chance that something good comes in and
Yeah.
then I'll have a good video? Or is there something that I can do to make these more enjoyable?
Yeah. Now I love it because there's so many people that I've done consultations with that they get a pop and then they're like, can I do it again? And they don't. They literally don't do it again. They don't ever see that other pop again. And there's a couple reasons why, and I want to focus in on this specifically. It wasn't necessarily in your case, but in a lot of people's cases, like when you get a pop, you know, how do we get more consistency? So when you look at this one specifically right here, you had a really nice moment back, you know, in a great video, came down, and you're still releasing videos, and you actually did what I want to see across the board is increase your baseline. So you didn't necessarily reach the same moment, but you increased where your bottom was. And that's a very huge thing. Now, when I've seen this before where it comes back down, they either A, are not consistent with their releases, so they stop releasing for a little while, or B, they do something that didn't appeal to the next viewer. So the viewer that watched this specific video that took off, they did something that was completely just not even remotely close interesting for their audience. And so,
Right.
you know, nobody watches it, and then basically they don't become an active viewer, and then it kind of goes down from there. So my thing is, once you're able to figure this out, that's where a lot of growth can occur. Now, I want to talk about this real quick, Matt, with you, because you know, you got excited about it. You had all these questions of, can I do it again? And you started to see, oh, if I do it like this, or if it's an interesting recovery, or if I put text on my thumbnail, I don't know what you were processing at the time, but like
Everything. Like
yeah,
I was reaching out every single direction.
yeah,
And I was meeting some success, but I was also doing a lot of things that, like, I might have been doing something like changing how I did my thumbnails, um, but I also was doing a better job telling a story, and so I got a little bit more traction, so I thought it was the thumbnail, but really it was me doing a better job talking to the audience and telling this story. So I'd get false readings because I didn't know how to, like, what the data meant.
yeah. So you're just like, I heard this on a stream or some video or whatever, and I need to apply this because that's where it's at. And you really weren't really looking at the right data. Is that
Right,
what you're
and I would be
saying?
throwing up, like, 20 things, and then one
At
of
the
those
same
things would be
time.
working, so then I was religiously doing the other 19 that was, it was work that wasn't returning, but I just couldn't tell.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think that's kind of the whole thing, is trying to assess, is that going to be successful? You know, what do I need to apply? I did differently in this video. Let's go ahead and apply it to the other. But you're doing so many different things. You know, that's where it's at. Now, I want to talk about another moment, and all this. I think you know, people that are watching this can relate to. It's just like, hey, I might have got a little bit more video views on this one, but I couldn't really tap into it. But I want to talk about this next moment, and this next moment's interesting. Let me pull this up real quick because right here, here's the video itself.
Yeah.
Now, I want everyone to realize what's going on here. So I put an arrow down on a moment we're going to discuss, but you can see the gray that goes up. That's kind of the typical retention. But for this video, it had 30% retention. And I want to talk about this moment right here. So at the beginning of the video, within just a few minutes, or I'm sorry, few seconds, you lost 70% of your viewer. Like you literally lost 70% of your viewer. And I want to go to this moment here. So like they picked back up, and then it went a back above, and you had about 40, you know, some odd percent, 48%. And I want to talk about this moment right here at the beginning of the video, almost to 5 minutes into it. Matt at that time was doing these really, really, really long intros. And would you ever do something like this again?
No, no.
And why? Like let's talk about it very specifically.
Well, okay, I'm gonna rewind back to this time. So at this time, I've got a small audience, and I'm getting most of my feedback from the comment section, which can be valuable, but if you don't verify it in the real data, you can go way off. And so people were like, I love the intro. I love because we would like speed up the drive, and it would be like get like 2 or 3 minutes of this high speed driving or scenery or whatever. And and apparently I had like, you know, whatever, a couple hundred people that just loved it and commented about it. But nobody, they wanted, like, I started the video, hey, we're gonna go do this job, but then I didn't get into it. I didn't get right into it. So yeah, so that my line of thinking at the time was, oh, people really want to see this, when in reality they didn't. They wanted to see what I told them they were gonna see.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think the biggest thing is, and this is where I want everyone to really listen to this, is if you can get someone to click, if there's enough curiosity that they click, and you don't fulfill on that promise of what they clicked on, you're going to have drop off. You are literally going to have drop off, and it's going to look like this. It's called the hockey stick of death, where it just drops way down, way so fast. And ultimately, you know, that is a missed opportunity. Now keep in mind, this video had a ton of views on it. It had 2.1 million views. And it still dropped off quite significantly. And ultimately, taking care of fulfilling on that promise of the title and thumbnail as quickly as you can, and then setting up the story, you know, of what's going to happen is really, really important. And that's what was a kind of a missed opportunity there. Now, I want to go to this moment once again. So this is the moment that he had his first pop, and he's learning so much about it. And I want to talk about the next pop, because, you know, you went on and you had a little bit of traction, but it wasn't until there. So you had that pop in there, it went really, really big. And I want to talk about this moment, because I use this example, Matt, more. I haven't even really told you, but I use this example quite a bit. So Matt reached out to me on the phone, says, hey, I'm in the same neighborhood. Let's go to lunch. I'm like, well, not whatever. And I invited him over to the office, and I heard him out, looked at his channel. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was like, do you do any consulting, or like, and you're like, yeah, we're pretty busy. We got a lot of stuff. We don't really do the one-on-one.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, okay, well, all right. And then you're like, hey, if I get a second, I'll look at your channel. What's the name of your channel? And then like a few, I don't know, 20 minutes later, that's when we started texting. We're like, hey, we should probably get together and talk about this.
Yeah, because I saw a couple things that we'll talk about it. But anyways, he came over, and I'm like, okay, Matt, seriously, I think the conversation was, you're like, let's partner up. And I'm like, nah, it's not going to happen, man. You know, let's let me put you in my program called Channel Jumpstart. And this is the honest truth. Matt was the most difficult sell I've ever had in Channel Jumpstart. Because it's like,
I'm not an academic person, and I'm like, a class. I've got to take a class.
You're like, what's this class thing? But it was really funny, because you're like, I don't know him, Han. I know that you left a couple times, came back. You're talking to the president of the company, of my consulting company, Justin. And he was like trying to get you, you know, convinced and really understood. And you came back 3 or 4 different times. And then finally you brought Jamie, your wife, and you're like, okay, this is like a lot of money, and I want to make sure that we're going to do this right, because you weren't really making a lot of money on YouTube at this time.
Yeah,
it
was all getting sucked up, and it was not profitable.
Yeah, not profitable at all. And so it was like a really, really big step. And I remember, when you made the decision that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. You go, I don't, I don't do well in educational settings. And I need things explained to me differently. But you went and started in Channel Jumpstart. And that's kind of when the light bulb kind of opened up in your YouTube journey, and I was able to see that quite significantly. And then two, I just want everyone to know, and I'll be completely transparent. I personally talked to Justin and says, this is a guy I want to partner with, but I'm not going to partner with anybody until they learn the value that I bring and learn the value of the system that we actually teach. And so, we'll go and figure things out, but if he's going to be good, we'll be able to vet him through this process. And so I know, as Matt was going along, he was able to have personalized attention from the team, and that's where the rapport came, and we were able to see some really, really interesting growth. And so I want to focus in on that moment, because that's the next moment right here is when he actually started understanding some of the most important things to focus in on,
Yeah.
and I want to
I'd like
talk
to
about
point
that very specifically.
I'd like to point out that this started going up really rapidly before I'd even finished the course,
Yeah.
because there was a lot of things that I was hitting, but I was missing these key bits of information that I needed to glue the whole thing together. And by the time I was 3/4 of the way through, I had a working model for the first time that was functioning like a YouTube channel should function. And that was like it was very refreshing to have been stumbling along like I was for so long, not knowing what was working and what wasn't, and then all of a sudden I could see this thing and I'm like, "Oh my goodness. This is what I was missing, and this is." Anyway, it was very refreshing. It was a cool dip in a mountain stream for me.
Yeah, no, and what I love about this is a couple things. Number one, Matt's content's really difficult, and I want to explain why, and you'll understand this. But most YouTubers that I work with they can go out and plan their video. They can plan what their title, their thumbnail is. They can plan, what the execution of that's going to happen. Matt can't do that. He literally can't. I mean, he can't do that when at that time. He's now, moving into it. We'll talk about that here later in the live stream. But Matt couldn't do that at the time, because what was your video dependent on?
Yeah, it was just dependent on the jobs that came in, because we do off-road recovery, and if a job comes in, we go and film it. If it doesn't come in, we don't film anything.
Yeah, so you're
Yep.
like dependent on, hey, someone got stuck outdoors and we're going to go recover them, and basically we don't know what we're going to get. We have no idea what we're going to get, and it could be a dud or just a couple views on it because it's not interesting. It's just part of the job, right? And so that's kind of where you're at. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I want to talk about this moment and the moments that he was like seeing the pieces that really mattered, which is, and I can tell you right now, which is the click. You got to gain the click. You got to be able to get the click, and you need to be able to craft it in a way that brings enough curiosity. And I know that way before this moment in Channel Jumpstart, Matt was trying every title under the variation, and there was a moment of clarity, I believe, at this moment of how important the title was. And could you talk about that for a minute?
So when I was first doing my titles, I was kind of following like search optimization thinking. Like, okay, we're pulling out a Ram 1500 Dodge Chrysler Motors Corporation, like trying to get all that stuff into the title or on the thumbnail. And so that was totally wrong. Um, and we've since gone back on those old videos that I would name that way and just changed the title to something that was more appealing and
And what
more.
magically happens when you do that? I just
And
want
yeah,
to.
and then all of a sudden these videos start getting picked up again by the algorithm, and
Wow.
they get shown to people. And these videos that have been long dormant, dead, all of a sudden they're getting traction, and it's kind of fun
Yeah.
to watch that where the graph went down to nothing, and then like 2 years later, They're
just
going
start
up
taking
again.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things. So I've been completely adamant since 2013, once the YouTube switched over to an AI, that we don't optimize for search engines, we optimize for people. And like we go way in depth on this in Channel Jumpstart, and the light bulb went off, and Matt's like, "Oh man, I've literally been doing this wrong my whole, my whole time. I can understand that." And we actually had a moment where you're like, "Okay, I'm going to actually make it interesting for me to want to click on it, not for some search engine, not for some algorithm, but me as a viewer." And then two, at this moment, I noticed that you're actually watching more YouTube, not to be entertained by YouTube, but you're doing it as a student. Do you want to talk about that? Because I think this is kind of an underappreciated area of something that I'm passionate about. And we're not talking about watching YouTube educators like me or Nick Nimmin or whoever. It was like you started to watch YouTube differently. Do you want to talk about that?
Definitely for sure. So there's people that are reaching just massive success on YouTube. There's these creators that are doing it. And so I'm watching channels that I wouldn't watch for entertainment because I want to watch and see what they're doing. And there a lot of these channels, and they do it all differently. That's another thing that was a real eye opener. There's not like okay, here is the pattern. Everybody follow this pattern, you'll have a great channel. It doesn't work that way. You have people that can engage you. They're just very different the way they do it. And of course they grow different audiences, but there's a lot of people out there to watch YouTube. So I do have difficulty putting my thoughts into. I'm more of a I think about it when I go do it. I don't.
No, you're good. You're good.
Say
So
what I'm doing,
yeah,
but definitely watching and watching when, like, why am I skipping? Why do I not click on this? There'll be channels that I watch for entertainment, and there'll be videos that I just don't watch of theirs, and I'll go watch that video because I want to see why was I turned off by this video? Why didn't I click on it? And sometimes it's just interest. Like there's a channel that I watch. It's an automotive one. When he's talking about the Chevy big blocks and LS engines,
right.
I'll watch it. Put a Toyota truck on there. Not interested.
You don't even care. You don't even care. So, and I think the big thing about this, and this is where I want to answer Ruth's kind of comment here in the chat. It's like when you're trying to figure out what's going to hit. I think a lot of people use tools and they try to figure out, TubeBuddy or vidIQ, and trying to get the best, highest rating for a keyword, and you're going to put it in the title. And the difference would be is humans respond to words and we respond to phrases. Like what would actually be a word or phrase that would really engage the audience that we're looking to try to attract to click on the video. And so for me, I don't try to do that. I never use a tool like that. I did pre 2013, but when I'm really there, I'm trying to figure out who's watching this video and what would they click on. So like what Matt did in his example is, if you do a Toyota, he's not interested in Toyotas, but if you do a Ford or a Jeep or whatever, he's more interested in that type of content.
And if the creator's more engaging talking to me, I might watch it on a Toyota. That's something that creator could do.
As long as the Ford runs it over or something like that, right?
Yeah. but there's so many elements to what makes a video clickable and then keeps your attention.
Yeah.
Keeps your attention on it. Anyway.
Yeah, no, so you had the aha moment of that, and then you realized, what I thought people were saying or doing in my videos, we need to approach it differently. And basically,
and I have my own pets too.
Yeah,
like,
you did.
I don't want to get rid of this.
Yeah,
I had an intro right at the beginning, but it didn't take me very long to figure out that an intro is almost as bad as a black screen of death.
Yep.
So I ditched that earlier, but now I'm like, I really love my drone shots, because there's people, I need more drone shots. If the drone shot if a drone shot has a powerful moment or can drive the scope of the job, they're great. But if if I'm doing this big scenery, beautiful, playing some outro music or whatever, it's done. It's over. I got 400 people watching this now.
Yeah, and I think too, there's a couple moments, you know, as a creator, it's like, oh, I thought this is really cool, and you basically said you had to literally kill some of your pets in the sense, things that you thought would be so engaging, and overall, from a general audience or general viewership, you were literally boring people where they're clicking off
Mhm.
on somebody else's video. So it did two things. Number one, retention wasn't really good, and if the video is not very good, even though that I know a lot of creators like they have to wait till 8 minutes because that's when that epic moment is. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'm saying, well, if it's boring before those 8 minutes, or you're not engaging or storytelling in a way to set up that 8 minute, they're not ever going to see that 8 minutes. They're never going to see that 8 minutes. And if they don't see that 8 minutes, you just lost. They just clicked on somebody else's video and watched something that was more entertaining than that lead up to that 8 minute mark. And so I think that's a really important point. And I know that, you know, at this moment, it started to click for you. Let's go to this video right here. So this is the first video that you did using the system that I teach, the Channel Jumpstart system. And I want you to talk through this because this was your biggest video at the time. It's like 4.2 million views. You know, people watch this. And then I want to talk about some of the differences of this video versus your first launch, the first video that took off. So let's talk about the thumbnail first. What was appealing? Like, why did you pick this thumbnail specifically?
Oh man, it took us a while to decide on this because the information I have is new. So I've got really good information now, but I haven't processed all of it. So you can see there is definitely some things that we did wrong, but I do like this thumbnail. We get a lot of what we do, the camera hides some of the how epic it is.
Yeah.
And I wanted this thumbnail to set the stage that we're in a risky situation and this truck's in a risky situation. So that's it was an evolution to get to that thumbnail.
And this is the moment was you have everybody at a glance. They see the 36 degrees. If they have no clue about what 36 degrees and the hill that it's on, they're not your audience, right? So it appeals to your audience, right? And the first thing that they do after they see the thumbnail is to glance at the title. And this is where I want everyone to see, okay? Because it has no freaking keywords in it in the sense of search engine optimization. It says, there's no way you'll recover that. And then, you know, it fills into the vehicle type. There's no way, you know? And so you have that. And I see that title, that curiosity is going to do what? Get us to click. Yeah. And what's interesting next was having the component, which is number one, I need to be able to get right to it a lot faster than I had, get rid of my intro, get rid of all the things that he was doing. Look at the growth after that video. So the first day it had the most views, and then it went down on day 2. But day 3, it came up a little bit. Day 4, it came up a lot higher. Day 5, it kind of plateaued over here. And then day 6 and 7 is when you actually went higher. You had more views than day 1. And what was crazy about that was YouTube was able to say, hey, this is a really good title thumbnail. We got it out to your audience. They really loved it a lot higher than normal. Okay. And so let's go ahead and give it more impressions. Let's get it in front of more people. They did. And then they scaled it back a little bit to see if it was true or not and seeing what the retention was. And they were able to say, oh, good click-through rate, great retention on this video. Let's get it in front of more people, which they started to get more and more of an audience. And what was really cool was this is the moment, Matt, that you actually went to a broader audience and it wasn't just going out to your subscribers on the homepage and on the subscription tab or feed. It was going out to a broader audience, and YouTube says, this is a really good video. Let's get it out to a broader audience, which it did. And it went broader and broader and broader till about day 10. And then it kind of dropped off and then came down and then went back up. And so this is like a moment where YouTube says, I'm trying to figure out the views itself of this viewer, we're getting data, and this is where I want everyone to understand, and I want to give you full, so you can see my face. It's like YouTube finally figured out who is going to respond the best with that video, because like the goal of YouTube is to predict what viewers want to watch and keep them on the platform longer. And this video was like 30 minutes ish, you know what I'm saying? And it was like a great video, great story, and it was getting a wider audience. It was getting a wider audience, and YouTube says, look, we now know who responds well with it. We know their viewing patterns on YouTube. Let's get this title and thumbnail in front of them. And that's where we had a lot of growth. And I love it. I love to see this. So when you saw this, Matt, like what was going on in your mind? Like what was you thinking about?
So yeah, this was definitely a rewarding moment for me, because I got a result that I was expecting, because I now knew like what I hadn't been doing correctly. Now I was still editing the videos at this time, and I can also see the mistakes that I did in this video now. When
But I was going to get to that later in the stream, but go ahead.
But it was definitely a huge leap forward, and getting the results that we expected beforehand, because I was able to predict what we were putting out and how it was going to be received. It was at this moment. I'm still new at YouTube. This is my first like, oh wow, that I've learned this new stuff. I've applied it. This is huge. It was just very rewarding to get the results that we had worked for now.
What I loved was the text message that you sent me. You're like, oh my gosh, it actually works. Of course it works, Matt. Like come on. Because what you were doing
this video paid for my channel jumpstart.
There you go. But it was like, you're like, it really works. And I'm like, yes, it works. And it's like, what you're doing is you were not just uploading a video because you want to upload a video. You're very sensitive to who's watching it. And you're more cautious on what you put for the title and the thumbnail, and then also the story that was leading up to it. Now, you weren't the most perfect editor, and you were still editing on your iPad or iPhone, whatever, but you actually were more thinking about the viewer at this time. And what did it do? It got you not only the money to pay for Channel Jumpstart in one video, but it got you 40,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
40,000 people that came in because YouTube was saying, this is a really good video. Let's get it out to more people. And I want to show you this. And this is where I want everyone to pay very close attention, is when that first video popped off, it had 2.1 million views. And I want you to look at the chart here. It went way up and then way down. YouTube did not serve it out to more people. What happens is YouTube, when you have some great content, YouTube's going to do this. YouTube's going to go put it in a broader audience and let it go wild for a little bit. That's what it did. That's how we got the 2.1 million views. And when you look at the graph, you can see bad retention on the video. When people watched it, they didn't watch very much of it. And it wasn't down to a level where they wanted to promote it out more. And that's where bad retention is. But this is when it's better retention. When you have better retention, YouTube's going to get it out to more people. It says, oh, they not only clicked on it, but they watched it longer. And when they watched it longer, they were engaging with it. And then there's a couple other things that happen here that a lot of people don't talk about. You can't game the algorithm, guys. Like, I want you to understand, you can't game it. YouTube's looking for signals that normal people do in a video. And if there's something abnormal and it doesn't have the things that are there, it basically, we're not promoting it, because like, why is it abnormal or whatever? It's going through it. It's very smart. What it's seeing is that people were watching it. Well, first off, people were clicking on it. And it was a higher click-through rate. The more impressions that it got, people were still clicking on it. And it was higher than the normal for this specific type of video, even on this channel. And then when people were watching it, they were watching it longer, but they were also commenting, and they were also sharing, and they were also sending it via text, and they were also talking about it on other things. And so this was actually doing so many other things. And you're thinking, well, oh, I just need to have them comment more and my videos will go out. No. The highest thing is getting them to click, getting them to watch the whole video. Okay, that's the highest thing, bar none. And then it's, what do they do next? Do they watch another video? And that is the key, is click, retain, watch another video. That's it. Now they'll look at other factors to say how engaging was it, but that's all they care about is those three things. And then as they go deeper, then it can go out to some interesting audiences based off of that. So, you know, you're able to see what a bad retention pop looks like and a good retention, a better retention pop. I won't say best retention, but it was good, better than the bad retention. So I want to talk about the nachos moment. And I use nachos as the example because Matt at this time was doing this. You can correct me, Matt, but it was like, I am teaching people how to do recoveries in weird ways, and you're teaching them through showing them.
Yeah, just showing them this is the recovery, and here's how we do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like literally, it's like you're trying to show the recovery, and you're so focused on the recovery. You're so focused in on making sure everyone's safe. First off, I mean, it is a job. I mean, it is a job, right?
Right.
But two, you wanted to teach people what to do, and you thought that was the value, right?
Yeah, I thought the value was the action of the recovery.
Yeah, and it's really, really, really important on this. And I want to go back to, you know, what I said a little bit earlier, which is what YouTube cares about is the click. It cares about the retention of the video, and what they do next is the most important things that they do. And when we're looking at other factors like sharing and commenting and stuff like that, it gives it a little bit more information about the viewer, of where to do things. It's like that, you know, the people that are super engaged, you know, they might show them other stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's just like there's ways to do it when they're super hyper engaged. Now, the Nacho moment, and I want to explain this. The Nacho moment is when I was able to explain to Matt what his channel was about. So he thought it was about a recovery business that was going out and teaching people how to do recoveries and showing them kind of behind the scenes of what happens. And I said, no, it's about a group of friends that all have personalities, and they're getting in their car. I'm sorry, the Jeep, which is named, what is the Jeep's name?
Oh, well, this is a sore spot with me.
Because it's named the Banana.
I
right?
didn't name it that.
It doesn't matter, but it has a name.
It has a name
it's called
now.
the Banana,
Yeah.
right? And they're going out because there's someone in need, and they're going out to help them. So there's that dynamic of friends in need, and they need to go help someone, right? And so when they're going out, they need to stop at the gas station to gas up, and they need to grab some nachos.
And this was crazy for me because I'm like, they really want to see us get nachos?
They really
You're
want
like,
to see you get
absolutely,
nachos.
they want to see nachos. And so it was crazy the first time we did this. Like, we took them into the convenience store with us.
But this is something you normally do anyway. It wasn't anything out of it. Okay.
Yeah, we do this. The only thing we're doing different is we're taking a camera with us now.
Yeah.
And it was crazy to see the engagement there, because people are like, oh, wow, you guys go to convenience stores? I go to convenience stores. These are my people. And that's the kind of response that I was getting from in the comments, but not only in the comments, in the retention graph.
Yeah, and they were engaging with it via comments, of course. Yeah, and then at that moment when you're able to see that the retention actually went higher at that moment, because it wasn't like drawn out. It wasn't like a 10-minute bit, right? It was just like a quick segment. What was going through your mind besides that I'm a genius?
So a lot of things. One is like, I didn't it didn't really appeal to me, like, as a viewer, but I'm only one person, and I'm not making videos for me. I'm making videos for my audience, and my audience loved it. And and there's other moments, like just doing things that people do that you might think is mundane. Just go in, be happy, make the decisions like you would really make them, like, just do what you would really do, and make sure that, it's kinda like, what the way I look at it is, I'm bringing somebody maybe from another country with me, and I'm showing them what we do.
Yep.
And so it's not me just going in and ignoring the camera. I'm still going to talk to the camera, which would be different than what I would normally do, but I'm treating the camera like it is a friend or somebody that I've just met, or somebody that is experiencing this for the first time. I'm like, we're gonna do this, and kind of talking about it. But very, very valuable. And it's not just going into a convenience store. There's all kinds of things that people do that is universal, that they feel they're really pulled in, like they're right there with you. They
So
love it.
I like to use the Nacho moment, because that was the moment when you did it, you applied it, you saw the results in the content, and you're like, I get this. And then I remember the text message was, can you talk? And I said, sure. And I jumped on, and you're like, I need to become the best storyteller ever.
I've got to figure this storytelling out. I have to.
You got to. And so you're like, let's talk about that. I'm like, Matt, I go, it comes. You just can't get it all at once.
Right.
But I says, remember, everything's a character. Everything's a character. And two, what your brand is. And I want this to be really, really important, because his next thing was, if I'm telling a story, I don't want to be false. I want to be authentic. That's what you told me. You said,
Yeah.
you said, you didn't say authentic. I got to be real. I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I want you to do. I don't want you to be fake. I don't want you to, hype it up when you're not that type of person. I want you to just be you. And when you started to wrap your mind around that, and I remember very specifically is like the aha moment, everything's a character. Then you're like, okay, now I can basically say the banana's the banana, even though I don't like the name. and you started to approach this differently. So you had the Nacho moment. You had a really, really great video. And I want to be able to say that really leveled up your content. It leveled up your content because people were just engaged with you and the characters more than they were the click. I mean, they might have came from the click, but they actually started to come more, and they started to see the inside jokes. And then more importantly, this is the first time that you started doing shenanigans, because that's what you guys do normally anyway, right? And what did that do to your audience? Because I think this is a really, really big thing.
Yeah, it just brought them in. It made them feel like they were a part of the team, and they stay and watch. They watch what we're doing. They watch where we go, and then they get in the comments and weigh in on it. Lots and lots of positive comments. We get a lot of positive engagement in the comment section.
So this engagement is real, and people connect, and they say, oh yeah, I like this, or I hate this, and they're engaging. And so comments is a good gauge. Not with the algorithm or anything like that. It doesn't do really anything with the algorithm, but it has us really understand who's watching the videos and gives us a lot bigger picture. And one of the main things that I teach all my students, and I work with my partners, is we need to understand who the viewer is. Now, at this moment, like we made the decision that we were going to partner up with Matt, and I started to read every single comment. And I did that for 5 months. I read every single comment on every freaking video. And I was trying to understand it at a very deep level, because for me, I wanted to understand who's appealing to what they like, where they're at. I wanted to get a lot more color commentary to the analytics that I'm seeing. Because like, analytics is just a number. I want to see people. And we started to wrap it up. And I remember I was probably 2 months into it. And at this time, probably 2.5 months into it, you brought Hefe, who's now the president of the company, over, and we were having a conversation. I says, let me tell you who the viewer is. And I asked you first who the viewer was, and you told me. And then I says, let me tell you who the viewer is. And then I spent 20 minutes telling you who the viewer was. Right. And you're just like, yeah, you're like, well, how did you come up with this? Like, what? I mean, can we talk about that for a second? Because I think this is really important, really, really important.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, just take like the moment.
I have a hard time putting this into words, but we'll try here.
Yeah.
So, boy, I don't even know where to start here. So, understanding who your viewer is, Yeah, Daryl, I don't even know where to start.
It's I know there's so much to do it. And
I'm in the same boat I was in when we were talking about it the first time.
no, you're not even remotely close. So when I went through and was really defining who the viewer is, and I took 20 minutes of explaining what their life looked like,
Right.
what I was trying to envision is what they do day to day. So like when I teach my students, we talk about demographics, psychographics, what they do offline, what they do online. That's what I talked about for 20 minutes. And ultimately I asked, is that right? I mean, I went down to what they
Right.
wear, what
Right.
they care
We talked
about
about
when
their
they were watching the
clothing and
videos.
what they're driving and
Yeah.
yeah, when they're all that. Um, for for me, I just have a feeling like because I read all the comments, as many comments as I can read, and try to understand what they're doing. And a lot of my engagement with my audience is sometimes because if all you ever do is try to focus on what makes your channel grow or what gets you revenue or whatever, um, it's I don't think that that is a great way to keep it going. I spend a lot of time trying to engage my audience in a way that makes it so that we're having a dialogue back and forth. So I'll ask them to do something that will engage them in into the conversations in the comments. And like you said, the algorithm kind of doesn't care about that. If I just ask them a question to answer, but they care about it.
That's exactly right.
And and I care about it because I'm now talking more kind of a one-on-one with each individual viewer. Um, so I just kind of have a feeling like, okay, am I am I friends with my audience or am I doing something that's making them feel like I'm betraying them? Betraying is probably a strong word, but ignoring them or something like that. So I'm trying to when I think about my audience, I'm trying to think about treating them the way I would wanna be treated. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it's like that's where it's like what you want and you're getting some validation from it and you're not creating content in the sense of being false. Like you're gonna do this differently. But it's like
right,
if these guys are my friends, and how would I act? What would I do if I was surrounded by friends? That
correct.
doesn't mean you stop because everyone likes to do something that you hate. You're not gonna do that. It might be a bit in a video where you hate it, but it's not you're not going to shift or pivot your channel. You're just going to say no. This will attract the people they want, and they're going to go on this journey with us. Now, the reason why I read every comment for 6 months and I would continue to do was this: I needed to know how to edit. I needed to know how to cut things out that they didn't care about, and I needed to know what to ask for more. We get very specific. Matt, do this, do this, do this. And then he says, well, what about this and this and this? And I said, let's try it out because what we know is if it's this nacho moment and you're going to see an increase, then you're going to say, oh, okay, that worked. Or why did it work? Let's go to the comments and really start to understand where this is at. And so I know there's a couple people that work for YouTube on here watching the stream right now. I can see you in the comments right now. Please, for the love of everything that's holy, I want a feature request is I'd love to see when someone comments to know exactly where in the video that they commented. So if we can get a time
That'd
code
be
for that in
amazing.
analytics, that would help us so much. So
I agree.
please, I'm begging you, please, we want that to happen. So, but ultimately we're getting deeper into it. And I wanted to see, oh, did this respond really well? So I'm looking in the comments and I can see that it increased and I'm like, okay, they liked it because they're talking about it and I see an increase on it. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And so I wanted to be able to understand the audience so well that we knew exactly how to present it. And I remember doing the first edit and I remember sharing it with Matt and I says, this is where it's at. And it took a minute where
Yeah.
he had to take a step back and you're like, I don't know if the audience is going to like this. Right. What was your thought process on it?
Yeah, so I was really hung up on the whole entire process, like, so that when somebody got done watching the video, they could explain exactly what I did along every single step, and it was hard for me to let go of some of that just didn't matter. They didn't care. They don't. There's I c I can do things that make, like, I don't there's things that I can do to make them care about certain things because but it comes to me engaging them. It's not the process or the process of the recovery, but how I'm engaging them. So if there's this long drawn out section like, "Oh, this is really interesting. This was really hard for me to turn around." So I'm gonna show them 2.5 minutes of me trying to turn around here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there were some people that cared about that, but most people were like, "Skip." They wanna see the
Yeah.
next time there's somebody talking to them, bringing them in, engaging them, or getting to the meat of what the video is about. And so that was the problem I was having on the first edits.
What I think the biggest thing was you're trying to wrap your head around it because you're like, no, this is actually critical for the recovery. This
Yeah.
is
How
critical
are
for
they
the
gonna know
process. How
if
are they
you're
going to
gonna show
know?
the
And I'm like,
boring thing?
I'm like, yeah. This is, they don't care. They don't care.
Okay.
And I know you're like, but they do. And this is what I love. You're like, I'm willing to be wrong, willing to be happy to be wrong.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's let it go. Who would like to see the results of that edit? Put it in the comments right now, because right here, yeah, I'm going to show you this. This is a fun one. Here's the new edit style, 11 minutes. Our first retention was 87 freaking % retention on that video.
And I have to say, I hated this edit.
You hated it. You hated it. You literally hated it. But it was like I said, even after the first audio, it was 87% retention. We were able to deep dive into the new editing style. And even though that Matt, as a creator, like he literally was editing and all this other stuff. So he understood the pulse. He didn't like it because it was different. Yeah. And he says, my audience might not like this. And what it showed was not only did they like it, but they engaged higher than ever before. And we had 87% of the people that clicked on it finished it all the way to the very end. And what was really cool about this was they watched more videos, because one of the indicators that I teach my students is what do they do next? And they watched more videos. I'm like, Matt, I go, I don't care what you say, but this works. And you're like, yes, it works.
Yep. You can't be too proud.
Yeah, but let's talk about this because this one was a different type of thumbnail too, and it was like the title was the most difficult rescue I've ever had, and we're showing the recovery. It was crazy, the recovery, but the edit was so precise. The edit was very well done. In some of the elements, well, basically all the elements you've been doing before, but we really started to cut out your babies. And I know that I know that for you, Matt, it was hard, but once you saw the data, what did it do to you to process that? Like, what was going on there?
Well, obviously I saw the numbers and I'm like, oh, people are liking this. And I wasn't getting any pushback from my core. They were engaging probably more so than they had before. And new audience, it was getting put out to new audience that were clicking, watching, and then watching more of my videos. So it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard for me to be like, okay, you're right. This is the correct move. So it wasn't like a really long, hard drawn out, but it was kind of abrupt. I'm like, what? But getting the insight from you and your team, I mean, like, hey, this is the direction we need to go with the edit. And then being able to do that edit and then being able to see the results. Now it's the same thing. We're just moving ahead, doing it the right way now.
Yeah, and I think the big thing too is it was about storytelling, number one, and we have some pretty amazing storytellers on the stream. One of my favorite storytellers of all time is Ryan Trahan, who's on here. Hey, Ryan. And it's all about really getting that story connected and connecting the dots and then literally getting that edit so that it was there. And what I want to show you next, even though that Matt wasn't really happy with the thing before we released the video, but when we released the video that it just made sense, it was this. Now, I got to show you this graph. This graph goes up to 200% because people were rewinding that first segment. It was higher than 100%. But you can see the flat line. Like this is the highest at that time for a 3 million viewed video that we actually had. It was really, really flat across the whole thing. And I love how flat it was. And then we got a little bit more granular in it. And we didn't, you know, you could see that the typical retention is a little bit higher because this is the first time we changed the editing style. We improved since then. And so it's a lot higher, even though it shows lower. So
we were still really rough back then. And I'd like to point out that our thumbnails are a super challenge because we don't plan our videos. And when we get there in the heat of battle, creating or capturing what we need for a great thumbnail doesn't ever happen. And so these thumbnails are a struggle to get because we have to lift them from the video.
Yeah. And let me just reiterate to everyone that doesn't understand, he cannot plan his content when he does a recovery. So it's a reactive video and it's harder to get the right perfect thumbnail for every little thing because he's doing on a job. It's super dangerous, whatever. So we got to get what we can possibly get at that time. And so really, really cool about that. And it all goes back down to what's really important and what to do next from there. So what I want to do is really emphasize this point. I want everyone to understand what we're talking about here. Is why storytelling is really important. What's going on when we're doing this in our videos, and then when we actually tell better stories in our edit, and then taking a risk of trying things and seeing if it responds. And so we showed a video with a new edit and a new style. But I want to talk about once it starts to click and you're able to say, okay, they are responding well, and it's more about storytelling. What did you do next, Matt, where you realized, oh, what I really cared about in my videos, my audience didn't really, care about. We got higher retention, more engagement on the things that was the storytelling. What did you do at this moment moving forward when it came to storytelling?
So I realized that if you tell a fluid story, it's more important than showing like this fluid procedure. So I can leave gaps out of the procedure as long as I don't leave gaps in the storytelling. And so that was a shift. And I had to out in the field when I'm doing the job, telling a story is the last thing on my mind. It's making this job happen safely and efficiently and get everybody back to safety, back on the road. So I had to actively think about what the story was going to be. Like when we headed out, we've got to tell the story of that we want to tell. So that was like realizing that I was going to have to make that shift moving forward as we were filming these jobs. It was just a process to like understanding what I needed to do and being able to do it. Like I'm still not there. I'm not where I want to be.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is you're now more hyper aware of, oh, I need to make this interesting. It's just not about what I'm capturing. I need to be able to pull people in, and there's certain things that make a better video, and we need to make sure that we have at least some of those elements in there. Is that correct?
Correct. And positive attitude.
Positive attitude.
Positive attitude, man. You get 2 or 3 million people watching a video, they're gonna know if you're faking that attitude or not.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so here we had a total shift. You're starting to get a lot of momentum on YouTube. You're getting a ton of subscribers that are going on. You started to edit your videos. You had a new path of what you needed to do, and you realized storytelling is where it's at. And you started to study YouTubers. You started to watch channels worth, how do they pull you into the story? What are they going from there? And I know you went a lot deeper. And then it was more about mastering your craft. And I'm here to tell you guys, like this is one of the things that I want everyone to understand is people respond to authenticity and who you really are. I don't want everyone trying to be like Mr. Beast or Ryan Trahan or, someone that you think that you have to be that. Matt is super chill. You could tell he's not like the energy level, you know, he's just like, hey, he's just super chill, but it responds really well because people connect with different personality types. And it's like, how do you tell the story that you're able to get them to care a lot even deeper? And that's what Matt did, was really start defining what a good storytelling moment is and go from there. So should we talk about the golden nugget? Do you want to talk about that real quick? Okay, so why don't you set the stage of the great story? Because I think this, I want you to kind of tell the whole envision of the story. So I says, Matt, we need to be able, and I told him, I says, we need to be able to do non-reactive videos. And we started doing shop builds, which he goes, I don't think that's going to work, which it did. You know, which it did, you know, and then two, we need to look for other opportunities that we can have control over it. And then this is where the golden nugget comes in. So go ahead.
So the battle that me and Daryl have is, I'm not a planner and Daryl is a planner. And so he's trying to get me to be less reactive. And my whole existence is looking at a situation and reacting to it. So I got thinking about this. There's this, I've got this friend, an elderly gentleman. He's actually on the channel, one of the characters that we have, and he's a gold prospector. And he had this Suzuki LJ20 that he had lost in the Sierra Nevada mountains years and years ago, back in the late 70s. And I thought it would be a great story if we went and got that and got it out of there. And that's as far as I had thought. I'm like, okay, we're going to go get this out of here. We're going to do this epic recovery and people are going to clap and cheer for us and it'll be great. And so it took us a couple of years to get the pieces together to go down and do that. And by the time I figured that out, like, I'm like, this is huge. This is big. We've got to do more. We've got to do more with this. By the time we get this out of the woods, people are going to really care about what we're doing. They're going to care about the Suzuki. They're going to care about Ed. They're going to care about my team. Like, this is going to be big. And I knew that, but I didn't, I'm just a baby in this industry. So I don't understand how big. And, we got together and we went down there and got it.
Well, let's stop before we get to the plan of it. So I remember you telling me, oh, I got this opportunity. And then you went through it. It says, oh, it's abandoned Suzuki 40 years ago. There's a landslide. It's with the security guard that's super old and remembers right where it's at. I'm like, you sure he remembers where it's at? And he goes, yeah, you know, he remembers where it's at. That's fine. And you had all the elements for an amazing story. And he says, this is going to be literally the most difficult recovery because you can't get into it. We got to figure out how to do it.
Not just the terrain to get into it, but private property owners, miners that have their claims, and we're crossing like 6 or 7 of these.
Now, this is where I want everyone to listen, because if there's ever a way to level up on YouTube, it's this next strategy that we're going to go way in depth. And in fact, we're going to go a lot deeper at VidSummit. And we're actually giving away 2 tickets today to VidSummit for the people that are on the stream. I'm really excited about that. That's coming up this next month. But this next strategy is by far one of the best strategies ever. And we're going to go way tactical into this at VidSummit. We can't do it here on the live stream, but we'll give you enough overview that you can understand it. But it's all about understanding audiences and how to have a top of the funnel video that will bring people into discovering who your channel is. Now, before this moment, Matt's channel was getting about 8 to 9 million to 10 million video views per month. And we wanted to double that. We wanted to have a strategy to double that. And we wanted people really care about the videos where they come in, that their average view per viewer would actually go way up. And the average view per viewer at this time was about 2.6-ish. You know, and we wanted to be closer to 6 or 7, you know, average view per viewer. We really wanted to have people care. Yeah. And so he shared with the idea, and I says, look, we have to split it up in multiple videos. We can't just go and do one recovery. We got to go set the stage. And he says, well, I got to fly out and to do it. And so we kind of mapped out at least the first 3 videos, which was doing some recon, coming back, make sure it's even there first
Right.
off, right? And then setting the stage of going to the recovery, and then recovery would have to be split in two because it's a massive thing. So do you want to talk about that now?
Picking up with at like going to do the recovery.
Do the recon first, like that video.
Okay, so the recon. So I knew. So by this time, we decided we're going to not only recover this vehicle, but we're going to restore it, and we're going to do it without Ed, the gentleman that owned it, without him knowing it. So I knew that we couldn't do the work at our shop because that's where Ed works and lives. So I brought in another YouTuber that had a really small channel. They just barely started. I brought him, Paul from Fab Rats is his channel, but I brought him on the recon because we were planning on him doing the restoration project. So we flew out there, just three of us. I had Trevor from my crew, and we met Ed and his friend Fred out there. And I won't bore you with the details, but there's a big diplomatic side to this with the other owners, but Fred helped us with that. So we got out there. We brought the camera with us. Like, this is what we're gonna do. We ate berries. We found the golden nugget. We thought, hey, we can get this out of here. Just kind of made a fun video out of it, and then we had to go back and plan. Like we had this little tiny window to go get it. I don't.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So what happened, and I want everyone to understand what happened, was really, really good idea for a video. We wanted to set the stage. She set the stage. We got 2.1 million video views on it, and it was setting the story. All it was is about setting the story of how epic of a recovery was. The comments on this went through. It was the most commented video that we had at the time. Yeah. And people were really engaging with it. Oh yeah, go recover it, whatever. This was 16-minute video, 16-minute 55 video, almost 17 minutes. And the retention was in the 90s, like literally in the 90s for
really
audience.
Good.
And so what was really cool was Matt did a great job telling the story of, hey, we're going to go find this. We don't even know if it's there, which he didn't. He literally didn't know it was there. He had to go discover it. And then we get all ready to, people were primed. And I remember you're getting ready to recover, and then there was a fire. So there's the California fires was happening, and the Nevada fires that were happening. You're like, oh, I just shot our video down. I'm like, is it going to burn the vehicle? We didn't know. We didn't know if all that work was there. But then it was like putting the plan in place. And so this is where I want everyone to understand. He brought a YouTuber that had who was another student of mine. Brought him with him. And the whole goal was to recover it and put it on the other channel. Now, the reason why you're thinking, why would you want to put it on somebody else's channel and not do just the rebuild on yours? And not just one channel, but it went off to 3 different other channels. And there's some other channels that were involved in the process. But why would you do that? And so I want to talk about the strategy specifically, because when we went down right here, had the first video, and then it was, I guess it was this one first. Was it this one first? Trying to get into it. You can see a pretty crazy shot there. We had another 2.7 million video views on that one. Another 3.6 was actually doing the recovery. And both of these videos are really long. And then even going further, where you recover it, made it to the shop, got another million views. And then we basically, right here, we basically started to hand off. I mean, so we had four videos, handed off to someone and go from there. Now, once again, we were only about 9 to 10 million video views per month that was going on right there. And our goal was to double it, but also get our average view per viewer to double as well. So that was kind of the goal. And you would say that you're insane to send it off to someone else. This is the difference. And this is what I loved about Matt, because Matt said, hey, it would be really cool that we can get our YouTube friends and they can be a part of this journey, and we can all have this secret that's going on and surprising Ed. And then when it comes back to us, we can actually have this beautiful moment with Ed, and then on our channel from there. And what's really cool about this strategy was there was a storyline that was a collaboration that continued. Our brand was going to other stories and other channels out there, and was gaining audience that people would discover it on another YouTube channel, go to ours and binge watch and get caught up, and then go back to this channel that's being restored. And it was like going on that journey. And we got people that didn't even know that Matt's Off-Road Recovery even existed, that was able to find us because of the story. And when you started reading some of those comments, man, and I know that you would appear in some of the videos so you could give some story and some context, like what did that do for you?
Well, I like helping people. and I, like you said, we ended up passing this off to another YouTube channel for them to do the restoration on, and it was a massive boost to their channel. And I enjoyed watching my friends succeed, and my audience would go over and watch that, and then come back on my channel and talk about what they're watching on this other channel. It was just a really, it was a really wide bridge that we had connected these two channels with, for our audience to go back and forth and to grow. And it grew. Like, it was crazy, because even though this was happening on Fabrat's channel, my channel was growing because of it.
Like, yeah, because the people would find it on Fabrats and they're like, oh, I want more about this. And they go to Matt's Off-Road and started watching videos, and they binge watch.
It just put this in front of more eyes. And because we had this bridge, it was coming straight back to us. It was,
and so that's kind of where it started. And then ultimately it was like, okay, we're going to get these YouTubers. And then let me show you the next one. And this other one is a channel that I co-own with my partners, Robbie Layton, who's one of the greatest YouTubers. He'll be one of the greatest YouTubers ever. Robbie's really smart. He does auto body and do paint repair. And so we're like, hey, let's get him rolling too. And he was in the journey, and then he's getting the paint ready and so on. And then he started leveling up the content, and the people that was following him and engaging with his videos were not only watching his channel, but watching Fabrats, and not only watching Fabrats, but watching Matt. And so it was really cool to see this pay off. And what was really cool was all you're doing is these quick collaborations. You jump on the phone, you go see the progress or whatever. And it was just easy storytelling integrations along the way. And yet everybody was gaining from it. I know that Fabrats blew up to, like from very small channel to, 400,000, plus, subscribers. Robbie went from 0 to 261,000 subscribers. And yet all this is going on. And then you included a motorcycle channel. Like, why would you include a motorcycle channel?
Well, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Ed was starting to want his Suzuki back. The story was Paul was going to try to get it running, so he got pushing us pretty hard. But he had this old Rokon, and so we needed a distraction for Ed. So Sean with Bikes and Beards were like, "Hey, do you want to restore this Rokon on your channel?" And as soon as we got that going, Ed completely forgot about his Suzuki for about 3 months.
So you had a storytelling distraction, right?
Yep. And it ended up being a big part of the we call it the golden nugget, LJ20 there. The Rokon became a big part of that story because they were both from the same area. They were both used to get Ed into his mining claim.
Yeah, so the great thing about it, Ed doesn't watch YouTube, so he had no idea that this is going on. Everybody was in on it. Everybody was in on it of, hey, we're going to surprise Ed. And there's some scary moments that fans thought, hey, it would be funny if Ed would know, kind of spoil the whole thing. And here we are collaborating with Fabrats, collaborating with Robbie Layton, and now Bikes and Beards. And then we also had other YouTubers that were coming on and working on the other channels because of their skill sets to do it. And we had quite a few different number of channels. Now, this is where I want everyone to really, if you're taking notes, to write it down and double underline it. But this is the beauty, because of the collaboration, that it was something authentic. It wasn't just, oh, upload a video, whatever, and do a shout out. No, no, no. There was a story that interwove with 4 to 5 different channels that were going on. And that story was revolve around a character that was on our channel, Mass Offer Recovery. And it was like, it created new audiences, new eyeballs, that we can go from there. And I want to be able to show you a couple things here. Let me go to the other thing, which was this. We actually got press about people that was caring about the recovery. They literally cared. Oh, look at this most amazing, recovery, whatever. We're getting new eyeballs into the story outside of it because it was newsworthy, even in Spanish, And so here we had great videos, great retention, great growth, everything that we wanted from there. You can see some amazing videos. And then ultimately we were handing it off to other channels, and then they would work on it for 3 to 4 months. And we were doing collaboration pretty much, not in almost every video, but in the majority of their videos, because they were showcasing how they were restoring it. And they were talking about something about us, which would create more brand appeal, new people coming on and starting watching the videos. And so what was brilliant from this more than anything else was, remember, our goal was to double our views and to double the retention, and also not double retention, but to get more, double our average view per viewer, and then ultimately get our retention up. And I can tell you that it did it. I mean, everything that it did it. Like we're now at 20 million plus views per month, have a super engaged audience. But I want to talk about this moment, because this just happened about less than a month ago, right? Which was, you surprised Ed. So you surprised Ed along here. And what was that for you? Because you love Ed. I mean, how was this video itself? And let's kind of talk about some other things.
So yeah, so this is the point. Excuse me. This is the point when everything's done and we're going to be revealing this to Ed. And we've been keeping it from him. It's been very difficult and challenging for lots of reasons. But yeah, so we hit it up in the mountains. We had a fake job. We brought Ed with us, brought him out there to see it. So this was like when all the hard work, like everything that we were doing, is now we're going to show it to Ed. And he was not expecting it. When he saw what it was, I knew it was going to take time for him to absorb. And this is something right here. I know Ed very well, and I knew what I needed. Like there were lots of ways we could have done this reveal, but we did it. I did it with Ed in mind, because he doesn't hear well. Large crowds make it so he can't hear. Also, I know that he's going to have a whole bunch to absorb here. And so I wanted it to be really intimate. So it was just myself, Ed, my wife, and then Tucker was our videographer, cameraman there. And we took him down there to see it, to find it. And he had to absorb it. It took, 20, 30 minutes before he was ready to get in it and drive up to where all the rest of the people were waiting. So,
yeah, and I think it was really rewarding for you to see all the hard work and effort, and then it paid off, and it was like one of those happy moment videos, that brought all the collaborators together, and they got to have some time with Ed. And then too, they had their own videos too that led traffic to this one. And
do you know how many views this story got?
Yes, I do, but we're going to reveal that at VidSummit, because it's like it's like one of those case studies that we're doing on VidSummit. I'm not going to tell you there. Number. Go ahead. Anyone that can guess, if you get it right, I will give you a ticket to VidSummit right now. But anyway, we're giving 2 tickets to VidSummit today away. But it got a ton of views, and it was all coming back to our channel. But it did what we want it to do, is have people personally invested with us and our channel and the way that we approach it, and then ultimately lift the content, lift the journey, because we got new audiences, and we were able to not only double the amount of monthly views from this strategy, but we were able to actually get them to retain longer and to bring the average view per viewer up to not only double, but it was like, you know, it's a little bit more than double, which was so amazing. And it did everything we want, because ultimately for us, we wanted people to be a part of this and see how amazing Ed is. And they're in on it as well. Switch, they cared a lot about the journey, and it's true, authentic caring. And they wanted to see it. And just this reveal, I just love it. I want to just play just this segment of it. I just love this, you know. So I love that. I just love that whole thing, and just his whole reaction. It was just like really great payoff. Really great payoff. Which is awesome. So what I want to do, Matt, like there's so much to learn from this, so much to digest, but I want to go back down to really the essentials, because a lot of people watching this stream, they feel like you felt, you know, a couple of years ago when you're trying to do it on your own. They're trying to balance it between jobs and all this other stuff that's going on. And they really need some great advice. Now, knowing what you know, what would you tell yourself 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago?
I would have definitely reached out to you sooner. That was key. I mean, that was a pivot. That's a pivotal point that we have actual data you can look at and see that pivot. There's other things that are, I mean, I can say this, like, you need to know your audience. You've got to know them. And that sounds like something you can just say, like a little cliche, but it is absolutely the truth. If you don't know your audience, you're not going to keep them. They not only do you need to know who they are, they need to feel like you know who they are. Like you're connecting with them. That's something that I would definitely, this I mean, this is a crazy journey for my head's still spinning from this. I haven't been in this that long.
Yeah.
But just learning those little things that you need to do. There's there's a lot of interesting people. There's a lot of great personalities that are on YouTube. But just being able to weed out the stuff that people don't engage with and put in the parts that they do, it's a journey, and it's an evolution also. Audiences don't always stay exactly the same. And as it grows, you've got to kind of track that. So
Yeah.
I guess it's just the advice that I would give is definitely look into Channel Jumpstart for sure. When people would ask me if it was worth it, like right after I took it, I said, you know, if I could get the same result, I would take this course once a month.
Yep.
So it was definitely worth it. I'd do it.
Yeah, and I love it too, because and I want to make it clear, one of the gifts that God's given me is I can see talent, and when I see YouTubers or people that are on YouTube, I can see what they're doing and where they're lacking, and how to bring out their true self. Because if you bring out the true self, who God made you, I really do believe it just resonates. It just does, if it's the right way. And so I saw that Matt had all this potential, and he was struggling. He was struggling to even make it worth it, because like he was putting more time, energy, and effort. He was sacrificing sleep. He has a business that he was trying to run, and also doing a YouTube channel, and it was really stressful, and it was causing issues all over the board. And then it was like down to really making sure we treat it like a business. And I remember when I came on, I was like, hey, Matt, all I care about is making sure that you're taken care of, all the stress that you have. And I remember we were writing down all the things that you owed, and all the things that you needed to do, and where you needed to be. And I'll tell you, the most rewarding part of this channel, brother, was seeing when we were able to not only pay off all that, every little thing,
yep,
and then seeing what the true power of YouTube really is. and both being blessed by that. And what I love is when we dropped merch on this one video in one day. I'm not going to give the dollar amount. It's not the place for it or anything like that. But in one day, you know, it was really crazy that dollar amount that you needed to pay all your bills and to be all whatever. We got that in like 12 hours, you know, which was amazing,
And
So,
and along that line with the YouTube community that I have on my channel, I don't even know what the dollar amount is for the charities, but we have been able to help so many people in this community, like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
yeah, it's approaching 600,000, but I do the tax portion of it, so I know.
Yeah. but that's a goal that I wanted to do when I first partnered with Daryl. That's I said I want to give to the community. I mean, this community is taking care of me. I want to take care of it back, and being able to do that is very rewarding for me. I've pretty much got everything that I want.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this for a second, because this is a really good point. In our business plan, every quarter we do a fundraiser. It's what we do. We figure out a charity that we can give to. We integrate it into a story. We give our money, you know, for that cause, but we also include a community. And what I love, it's just different things at different times, from fire departments to homeless shelters to food pantries to, you know, even disability parks, stuff like that, which is super, super amazing. And I remember the first time that, you know, we gave to one of the people. There was a couple zeros behind it, quite a few zeros behind it, and they misunderstood what it was. Don't share about that. That's pretty funny.
They're like, "That's a couple $100, thanks."
Yeah. And there's a couple more zeros behind it. They call back, they're freaking out. You know, we didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, but, missed opportunity. We didn't have the camera when they realized it.
Yeah, but it was good. It was good. So I think it's just more about getting people to click, getting people to retain, getting them to watch more. And it's more about storytelling. Like, it's just like, how do you tell the story from the beginning? How do you pull them into your story? How do you get it to go a lot more in depth? I mean, that's basically, you know, the connection. And I know that a lot of you might not have storytelling channels, and you think that there's no storytelling in it. It says, no, I review products, or I do this. And I'm telling you that you're missing the concept, because when people connect to who you are, and what you're about, you might only give pepper, you know, storytelling throughout your review or whatever. It's just like they understand you deeper, and then they actually, instead of just using you as a resource, they use you as entertainment or a way to connect. You're part of their weekly life or their daily life or their monthly life. You know, they're part of that process. And so really, really, really excited about that when it comes to YouTube. So what I want to do right now is, Matt, we have some VidSummit tickets to give away. I want to give away some of my book, which is YouTube Formula. Definitely want to do that. But I want people to be able to ask questions, you know, from you, to you and me. And I wanted those questions to come up, because I think, you know, you process things differently than I do.
Yeah.
And I think that people can actually
find value if we process things different than humans.
That's right. That's right. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it into the chat right now. We're going to take some time. While we're doing that, I want to be able to pull up, while you're putting your questions in, I want to pull up something that's coming on. It's this time of year again. I'm really, really excited about it. We have VidSummit that's coming up. This is coming up on September 27th to 29th in Los Angeles, 45 days away. And we literally have the biggest names on YouTube coming, people that are going to teach us, train us, you know, go way, way in depth. Really excited with some of our key lineup. We're going to be announcing next week some more of our key lineup. We have Mr. Beast, who co-owns VidSummit. We have Winji, we have Ryan Trahan, Zach King, Eric, HopeScope, and so many more. You can go and take a look at the schedule of what's going on. And what I love about this more than anything else is, you know, VidSummit's a platform for people to not only you know, learn from the best, but we give a platform for people that don't normally teach YouTube to give you the information. And it's like something that you've never been before. It's like creators really helping creators. What I love about this was 4 years ago, Mr. Beast actually came as an attendee, sat in the audience. Nobody knew who he was. And over the last 4 years, I got over 100 million video views, or 100 million subscribers, you know, and now he's owning the conference too, you know, which is super amazing. But the lineup has, like, we have Hayden Hiller-Smith talking about secretive editing. There's a lot of great depth on some panels and so on. I'm telling you, it is like a conference like no other. You don't want to miss it. September 27th to 29th, you can get your tickets now, but you might want to wait to get your tickets right now. You might want to do it after, because I'm going to give 2 tickets away to some of the best questions that we get here. So does that sound good? All right. So we are going to do, so if you have a question, that's how you enter to win the VidSummit tickets. And okay, let's go ahead and pull in this first one. Daryl Eves, what is the #1 most important CTR improvement to make? Matt, I know that he was calling me out on that, but what would you do to increase your click-through rate? What would you be concerned with? What do you see as the most important?
Rate?
Yeah.
Thumbnail and title.
Thumbnail and title. So like literally getting that thumbnail to increase. And so by understanding your audience, you'll understand what they're going to respond to. And if you go look at Matt's older thumbnails, it was a different way. And now your thumbnails are a different way. Why do you pay more attention to thumbnails now? And then 2, what's your thought process of getting the right thumbnail?
So I'm always embarrassed to talk about this because I know that we're not nailing it like we should, but it definitely helps to be more comfortable, and the confidence that I've got from now knowing, like, being able to plan for success and then meeting that success has made it, like, it's made it, because before I'm like, okay, I want a really quiet, reserved thumbnail and title. I want it to, because I don't want, you know, I don't want to, I don't know, draw attention. It's kind of a weird way to think. It's just the way I am,
Yep.
I guess. But putting more emotion into the thumbnails, being excited, like, hey, this is an exciting video. You're going to enjoy this. I'm going to get you to click on it with that excitement. Like, this is good. This is a good thing.
Yep.
So just putting that happy emotion or intense, just some sort of emotion that isn't going to cause a negative reaction for the people that see it. And then, and really, thumbnail, title, and hook, like, that's the complete story for getting that click-through rate. I mean, I guess they don't count it once there, but you got to have that. You've got to give them a little piece, like, hey, I clicked on the right video. I'm so glad I clicked on this, because it looks like it's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. So MC Tunes, like, seriously, what he just said is the most critical, getting that thumbnail and having the title support the thumbnail, and then having that hook support the title and thumbnail. So, like, if you can pull that in, that gives a higher probability for them to click. And then the important thing that I look at is what he said is, like, can you bring curiosity? Can you bring curiosity through emotion or something that pulls them in? That's great. Emotion, you know, is there. Like, for me, I just try to figure out, maybe it's not an emotional tie, but I'm like, can we make the viewer curious to see what's going on? Yeah. And curiosity gets the click every time. I'm telling you, it does.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have a whole list of something to click on. They can click on yours.
They definitely are. Okay, so the next one. Is there a particular traffic is best for videos? Some of mine have a lot of suggestions and some are browse. Is this bad? Sam the Hammerman, you have a ticket to VidSummit. So put this, because this is a dang good question. I like this question. Put this time code text me over at Twitter, or DM me at Twitter. But literally, give me this time, because I say it's you, because I have other people that's checking my DMs sometimes. But this is a great question. So traffic sources is by far the thing that I'm most sensitive with. And one of the biggest mistakes that creators make when they're looking at analytics is they're looking at the whole traffic source as a whole. I like to get granular on each traffic source, because each traffic source has its own algorithm and its own what they call hit rate. So the algorithm is controlled by the AI, and the algorithm has bots that are looking very specifically at what's going on in that traffic source. And they have different indicators from there. That's what I care about. And I can say that a lot of channels, they'll get suggested video traffic, or they'll get search traffic, or they'll get other traffic, or they'll get browse feature. Browse feature is homepage, subscription feed. Suggested videos is when it's on the right side of your video if you're on a computer, or right below the video on mobile. And ultimately, what we want to do is increase loyalty. So to get loyalty, it's getting people to watch more than one of your videos to get an active viewer. So if you have an active viewer, somebody that watches a couple videos, the next time they go to the homepage, they're going to see one of your videos. And based off if you click or not, we'll just see if it gets more people that have watched some of your videos that they're going to do it. But YouTube's going to make a guess what video they want to watch on the homepage. So if you have very, very, very low browse feature and really high suggested videos, you might only have one or two videos that people are watching, but they're not watching more than one video. And so you're not really getting that. And so I would 100% say if I was building a YouTube channel, I want that loyalty factor. I want the homepage views, which was the browse feature and subscription feed. And then number two, traffic source, I want suggested videos. Now, that being said, I'll give you an example of when I'd want suggested more than browse feature. And that's if you have a whole library of content. So one of the speakers that came a couple years ago to VidSummit is WWE. They've uploaded 74,000 videos. Okay. And they get theirs off of suggestion. And that's their number one traffic source. So if you have a ton of library, if you have thousands and thousands and thousands of videos out there, your number one traffic source might be suggestions. That's not a bad thing. But once again, what we want is getting them to watch multiple videos so it will suggest more, and multiple videos so it'll go on the homepage more. So Sam the Hammerman, you got a ticket to VidSummit. If you can't come, I will get you a virtual pass, which is the replays this year. So really, really good question there. So the next one, High Peak Homes. Hey Matt, what would you say if there's something you did to help relax and make you more of a person instead of a camera?
Okay, this was a process. This was a big, long process for me. If you give you a little bit of background, I have acquaintances and friends from way back in my life that when they're like, Matt's running a YouTube channel, like the Matt, the Matt.
Wait, this Matt, you sure?
And they're like, yeah, he is, and he's successful. And they're like, no way, no way. Bottom of the list. Like, who's gonna be in front of a camera talking to lots of people? Matt's at the bottom of everybody's list. So I had a long way to come to do this. And I'm not where I want to be yet, but I am making progress, and I'm happy with that. I'm very content with that. But when I decided that I was gonna jump into YouTube, I didn't know anything. If little more background, I'm not a computer guy, I'm not a tech guy. I don't like gadgets. None of that stuff. And so it wasn't just a matter of getting up enough courage to do it. It was a matter of learning how to do any of it. And like, I was starting from zero. And when I decided that I wanted to do it, I would stay after work in my office and I would film myself. And I would just talk and try to tell a story, like something that happened in that day. And then I would watch it and I'd be like, oh, I'd take my hat off and on, take my hat off and on, touch my face, do all kinds of stuff that was really distracting. And I just got more and more comfortable with being able to talk into a camera. I'm still not super comfortable with it. but I'm definitely more. So it's just something you've got to do. Um, Definitely put yourself out there before you think you're ready, because if you wait till you think you're ready, it's past, it's over.
Yep.
Like
And I think it comes back down to this, and I think this is a really important thing because I've seen the process of it is number one, recognize that it's something that you need to improve. And then number two, be willing to improve, like willing to put yourself out there to improve.
yeah,
And Matt is like you said, it's been a journey for him for sure. But it's been so great to see how he's understood the process and realized, oh, I realize that it is distracting when I watch the video from here. I need to stop doing that, or I need to do more of this, And then two, one of the big things was he says it's more of a reaction type of content. Sometimes he wouldn't turn the camera on because he's like, oh, I'm still trying to do the job or whatever. And then he realized, oh, wait, no, I'm missing some very, very important things. And even though that I don't come across that way, I need to be authentic. And so that was really, really good. So
yeah, just remembering to talk to the camera when you get in the heat of a job. You're like, you there comes a point when you want to like turn those off. Let's get this
you've
done.
done it a few times, like, no, keep them on, keep them rolling. You never know what you're going to get. Okay.
Yeah.
Rebecca says, how do you integrate stories and identify characters on your channel? And what has this process with Daryl taught you?
How do you integrate stories and identify characters on your channel? So I feel like I have a really unique friend group. I have very, very close friends, very long term, and they're all characters. Um, and so identifying characters isn't hard. I could almost bring anybody on in my life and at least have them be, because there's two kinds of characters on my channel. There's ones who can carry the story and do it. And then we have moment characters. And my channel's really heavy with moment characters. People
Right.
will tell me like, "Hey, I want a whole episode of Ed," and they don't they don't want a whole episode of Ed. That would be very difficult.
Yep.
Um, so so I I think a lot about who I'm bringing on and how I'm going to engage with them. And unfortunately, a lot of people, when the camera turns on, the character that they needed to be is now gone.
Yep.
They're too they become too self-conscious, and it doesn't happen. So you got to find people that are interesting and are happy. And for my channel, positive attitude is everything. It's a deal breaker for my
Yep.
audience.
Yep. No, I love
Um,
it. I love it. And another one would be so there's actually a third character, and I want to talk about this here in a second, but the first two is exactly right. So it's
yeah,
solid characters are characters that come and go and they're in the moment. But the third character is when we started to do equipment builds on Sunday.
yeah,
That you had, you wanted to build a whole fleet. And the first project that we did was something that you were really passionate about, which was you like Corvairs, and you wanted
I've
to
been
have
thinking about
this.
this for 20 years.
Yeah, yeah. So you had something that you wanted to do, and like, what do you think about it? I'm like, yeah, let's do it, but let's make sure that it's one video a week. And talk about that character itself, the Morvair, and how it got its name, and what that did for the channel.
Yeah, so I needed a custom recovery vehicle that was bigger than the one that I was using, and I wanted it to be interesting and something that I cared about, and something that, I we can tell this story and have the audience care about it. Um, and the style that we do and the style that they were used to, we build our stuff, we maintain our stuff, we design and engineer it. So going and just buying something didn't make any sense. And so we built this 1961 Corvair station wagon into this crazy capable off-road rig. Um, and they call it the Morvair. The Morvair don't care. Like it just um it was very successful. It took, when we first dropped that first video, um my audience is kind of like, what is this? And
Yep.
but then it started reaching out, and that was another cool thing, is because it became a bucket. These builds became a bucket, and it attracted a new audience. And so then I'd get these comments where people are like, "I don't care about the recovery videos, but I love the build videos." And then a month later, that same commenter would say, um, I'm not getting enough of these build videos. So I started watching the recovery videos, and these guys are super cool. Like, I didn't think I would ever watch this. And so inside my own channel, I've got 2 different buckets that are drawing 2 different audiences.
Yep.
And then once you bring them in and they get to know the characters, and then they're like, well, I really like these characters. Let's watch them do other stuff. And
Yep.
so they'll move over to the other side of your channel.
And what I love about this, and I basically showed the screen, and we'll be wrapping up here in a second, Matt. I know you got to get going here in a minute, but we get people like writing articles for drive.com about the vehicle that we just built. Like, it's just like, it's so crazy what happens here. And ultimately, you know, people care about the characters. And so when you're doing the recovery in one of those vehicles, they care about it. So Rebecca, I mean, that's a really great question. Love it. Okay, so let's do the next one. This is from another jump starter, John Pullum. How has your towing recovery business changed as a result of your channel? Are you getting more tow jobs because of your newfound celebrity?
Okay, so how has it changed? So I am less focused on towing and running my tow company. I'm not, in fact, I'm not even, because I've got tow trucks. I've got the rollbacks and the hook trucks and all that stuff. So you know, your alternator goes bad at McDonald's, we pick you up and take you to the repair shop. I'm not at all interested in that anymore. It's not a big part of my life anymore. The off-road recovery, we're definitely getting more requests across the board and further out. So we've got plenty of material to choose from.
Yep.
So
yeah, and I would say, John, because there was like split business, and one of the things that I told Matt when we're doing this YouTube channel, I says, we're not a tow truck business. What are we, Matt?
We're entertainment.
We're entertainment. We're an entertainment company. So yeah, there we go. Okay, so moving on to another question here real quick. We got, do you suffer from burnout? How do you manage the demands of a large audience? This is from Travel Beans.
So I think burnout is always a risk, like with anything that you're doing. I really enjoy almost every aspect of what I'm doing. It's a puzzle that I need to solve. I love puzzles. I love finding patterns. I love just solving problems in general. So the off-road recovery side, like where we actually do the jobs, I really enjoy that part of it. The YouTube side is another, it scratches one of my itches because it's this unknown puzzle and it's constantly changing. So you wake up the next day and it's a new puzzle.
Yep.
And so I'm wired I'm a very maniacal person. I can hyper focus for years on something. And so I know everybody's not wired that way. If you ask me, like, okay, Matt, everything's handled 2 weeks. What are you doing? Anywhere in the world? I'm like, oh, I'd go out to my shop and work on my business.
Yep. I love it. Okay, so the next one, for someone that's on the fence about Channel Jumpstart, what would you tell them to get committed into it?
If you take Channel Jumpstart with the attitude, don't push back. I'm not going to push back. I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can. And if they tell me something that hurts, I'm going to believe them and I'm going to follow it. I say you cannot go wrong. It will pay for itself. There's no way it won't. Because Daryl said I was a hard sell, and I was. And I said, okay, Daryl, what if somebody's really bad at YouTube and their subject is bad? Like, it's just this terrible, they're just not good at it. He said, let me show you one of my students. And he's like, this is their views. and this is the worst subject. I'm not going to say what it is, but he's like, this makes me want to throw up in my mouth. This whatever their subject was. And he's like, look at this. And it was like 20x.
Yeah.
Like consistent. It was like they were down here and now they're up here and they've got this much. I don't remember how much history it was. but it
And
was
I
the
want to give
design of
context.
it.
We're not bringing bad content out there. That's one of
No,
the
no,
things
no, no,
we
no,
actually go
no.
to an application process. I would get bored with this content, but yes,
That's what
that
I
was
meant. Yeah, let me make sure we characterize this. This is
but there's an audience for everything, right?
there's an
So,
audience for everything. If you are willing to listen to and get to know that audience and give them the content that they will consume.
yeah, love it. Okay, from F-Stop Foundation, what is the data from YouTube are you using to know your audience? Age, gender, question mark. So let me kind of answer this question. Yes, we care about demographics, and you can find that in your analytics. But for us, it's more understanding the psychographics. Like, what's their makeup? What type of personality are there? Are they? What do they do online? What do they do offline? And so, F-Stop Foundation, I am going to give you a book because I actually wrote a book on this. Go ahead and screenshot this time code on it. DM me on Twitter. I'm going to give you the book because I break it down on this and really give you the formula of how to understand your audience and also get your content out there. So really, really good. But in short, I don't really care about age or gender as much. It's just a data point. What I really care about is who they are as a person and what do they react to, what do they like, what they don't dislike, and stuff like that. So
I don't think it's too far moved from real life
right.
for getting these markers. You're like, what are they saying in the comments? How are they being? What's the retention on these subjects? That like just watching that.
Yep. Love it. Okay. Question: the hockey stick of death. YouTube will put me in YouTube suggestion and then kick me out. Why do that happen? Why does this happen? Okay, so the Blessed Reporting Studios. I'm going to also give you the YouTube formula. DM me and do all the time code stuff like that. But the hockey stick of death is when you have a really good title and thumbnail, but your content doesn't support your title and thumbnail, and people drop off. Whether the payoff is a lot later, there's not that payoff in immediately. So what I would do is really focus in on your first 10 seconds and really focus in on your first minute. You do those two things, that will help you increase that baseline, get less people to bounce off. Because what they're doing is they're clicking on it and jumping off. YouTube's testing it out because it is a great title and thumbnail, but your retention's not there.
Yeah. When you tell them you're going to do something, do it. Like, we're going to do this today, then do it.
Yep. Love it. Man, we got a lot of questions coming in. Okay. Let's do a couple more here. I gotta get another VidSummit, VidSummit ticket away for those that are asking the question here. And I'll bring, let's see here. Jeez. Trying to get it here. Okay, next one from Ruth. How do you avoid posting daily, and how does it impact your recommendation on YouTube? Matt doesn't post daily. I mean, you post how many videos a week, Matt?
We post 3 a week.
3 a week. And do you think that's enough for your audience? Like, why don't you go daily?
Oh, there's lots of reasons why we don't go daily. The one is it would be all it would be totally consume me.
Yeah.
But I think 3 is the right amount. The videos are still getting good traction by the time the next video comes out. We don't want to
Right.
flood the market with our content. It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice for them to be like, oh, I can't wait for the next video to come out.
So there's some channels that it's recommended you go daily or a couple times a day. There's some channels it's like once a week or once a month. Our cadence for this channel is 3 times a week, and I'm here to tell you it's exactly what our audience wants on the days. And how we pick our days is we know very specifically the days that are our highest views, and we want to give it enough breathing room, like Matt says, so that they can watch the video. It might take a day or two to watch the video before the new one comes out. Because what we don't want to have happen is when they see a video that they skip it. We want them to click on it and watch it and engage with it. And so that's kind of a really, really important thing. And then 2, keeping a good cadence of when you release. Sometimes when you do surprise videos, if you don't give it enough push, you're out of cadence and you won't get as many views because of what people expect. So, okay, so let's do this. Okay, so Max Reacts, who came up with the banana name and thumbnail?
Okay, so this is really weird. There's things about YouTube that are very interesting to me. You can mention something once in a video that doesn't get any views, and somehow it will spread like wildfire through your whole channel. And that's the way the banana did. Early on, I told like an 11-second story about somebody making fun of my Jeep and calling it the little yellow banana. And we never called it that. We never referred to it as that. And then somehow that picked it up. So I would say that 99% of the people that call it the banana don't even know the origin. They didn't even watch that video. But because other people call it in the comments, it just spread like wildfire. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, when the community decides a name, it's hard to shake the name, and even if it's a nickname or whatever, you know, that's just the way that it is. Okay, so let's do let's actually do it. One that we can give away a VidSummit ticket. How's that sound? Does that sound good? VidSummit. For those that don't know,
I'm good time wise, so don't feel like
I'm not. I got some stuff I got to do. So. For those that don't know, I put a conference on every year called VidSummit. It is our 9th year. It is unbelievable what you're able to get from that. And for us, it's about having creators help other creators. We get the top 1% of the YouTubers out there that are coming and learning and growing together. And we're 45 days away. So you want to grab your ticket. However, I would hold your ticket until the end of the stream because I'm going to give away one more ticket. And then you can go buy your ticket because I'm not doing any giveaways after that. But you can see we have some of the top names like Mr. Beast, Wenji, Ryan Trahan, Zach King, Eric, Hopescope, who is one of amazing case study of one of the channel Jumpstart members that she was ready to give up on YouTube, and now she's dominating YouTube. Love it. You can see the schedule. It is coming together. Some amazing things like how to train an editor to match your style. This is a really good one. I know a lot of people have questions about relieving their edit to someone else and getting it just right. We have panels to how to make more money, off of YouTube as well. All the great stuff. Go over to vidsummit.com to get that information all about it. You don't want to miss it. And two, I just want to let everyone know we always sell out. There's limited tickets. We're not doing a live stream this year. We'll do some replays, but we're doing some things that we've never done before, and it's going to level up VidSummit, so you don't want to miss it. So the next question that we do will get a ticket to VidSummit. So I'm going to make sure I get a good question ticket, I guess. We need to get a really good question here. So this will give you a little bit of time to put a question in too. I'm trying to find a really, really good.
If it's a good question, that means it's a hard one. So
I know that's what I want. That's what I like. I like the hard ones. Wow. There's a lot of great questions here, but I'm trying to get a tough one here. Okay, that's not working out very well. Not getting a tough one. Okay, so anything you want to talk about while I'm looking through comments, man? What was your favorite video besides the Golden Nugget reveal?
Oh, my favorite video. That's a tough one. I don't know. I just enjoy making the content. So
yeah. You like every video, right?
I do. I really do. And the videos that perform really well, like over time, I'll go back and look at them and see all the mistakes I made in them. And I'm like, oh, we got to work on this.
That's a sign of a good YouTuber right there. You're like going back, like, why did I even do this? This is the worst video of all time. Why does this even have any views? Yeah. Right?
That's what my kid asks me all the time. When we're filming something, he'll be like, I don't know how we have a successful YouTube channel.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is give a man. I've had a hard time. I'm gonna just randomly pick someone. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Okay, so Nikki D Love, you got a ticket to VidSummit. I'm starting a channel for my young kids' adventures, trying to figure out if my target audience is parents or younger kids like my son's age. Any suggestions on how I would figure that out? Okay, so first off, like this is one I'm very passionate about as a parent. Why are you doing it? Is it because your kid wants to do it, or you want to do it because you want the next, Ryan's Toy Review or Ryan's World or whatever, and it's just like, if they're not into it, it's going to show very, very specifically. Now, there are some very specific regulations with kids content. It has scrutiny from the federal government, the way that it is, and it's a different beast from there. However, I'm about ready to announce a keynote at VidSummit. We just locked it in specifically. It is the biggest kids channel out there ever. Gets the most views. So it's crazy. They're coming to speaking, and you don't want to miss it. So you actually get, Nikki, D-Love, you get to go to that session in person. And if you can't go in person, we'll give you the replays. Really excited about that. And you'll be over there. So, but I'm here to tell you, there are kids that's all they want to do. They just know it from an instinct. One of the partners at VidSummit is Sean Duras. And I want to show you Sean. Sean's one of the coolest people in the world, Sean Duras. His daughter, Adley, crushes it on YouTube. And she's always wanted to be a YouTuber. She'd pick up his camera all the time and pretend to be a YouTuber. And now she has her own channel and it's blowing up, and they've done so much from that. So really, really grateful for that. You actually get a ticket. You got to make sure you DM me on Twitter. Make sure you put the time code from there. So really, really excited about that. Now, Matt, let's go ahead and basically close up this process here. And you had a lot of things that you learned. What are you currently working on right now as a YouTube creator? What are you trying to do to level up?
So from a content standpoint, I'm just trying to work on the basics still, like get those nailed. You can't ever ignore that stuff. We've got a lot of stuff that we're working on build wise. We've got a big collaboration that we're putting together. Same thing, we're going to be collaborating with channels way smaller than us, and doing really big things. It's just going to be really good for my audience, really good for these other YouTubers. And so I'm just excited moving forward that we've just got a lot of these projects. I getting these ideas all the time and start talking about them and working on them and getting really excited for them.
Yeah, and first off, like I think we're always trying to improve, and even the videos that Matt watches 2 months ago, he's like, "Why did we do it this way? We could have done this." So, like, that's what you need to do. You always need to be a student of YouTube, and that's what he is. He's really trying to be better storyteller, trying to figure out something bigger than just one video. And he's always thinking of how do we create content over a period of time instead of just one video. And so that's really, really smart, really, really exciting. And then for me, I got to ask this, and it's really important. I don't want numbers because like that's not important, but 5 years ago, where your life was at financially versus now, would you just take a minute of what YouTube really can do? Like really for YouTubers, if they really treat it like a business and really try to be the best they possibly can, refining whether they do channel jumps or not, it doesn't matter. But it's just like, really refining the process of becoming the best and really being critical with where you're at and trying to improve.
Yeah. So I was feeling like things were pretty good before YouTube. Like I had a path and we were on that path. Um, the when I realized the potential of YouTube and the potential for one to take care of me and my family and my retirement, like all of that, when I realized that that was a potential, and while doing that, we can do all this other good for the different charities and stuff in the community. That was a really like it was hard to process because some of those numbers are really big. And as far as well, I'll just give you a comparison. So I owned a towing company that was established 40 years. It had 4 employees. It was a good company. It was a profitable company. Um, and now we have a little Connex box in the front of a junkyard that sells merchandise, and that Connex box is bigger business than my 40-year-old tow company.
And those are the people that are
Just
coming and buying merchandise
that's
in
people
person.
stopping by. That's just the merchandise out of a 20-foot Connex. And so, it's definitely like, I think about this, like, imagine, like, even, 10 years ago, career day, like, you could be a YouTuber, how ridiculous. I mean, maybe some people would see the vision, but me, I'd be like, "What?" And now it's like, "Oh, career day YouTubing is a very viable, business."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can do so much good with it. That's the other thing. You're giving people entertainment, sure, but you're also and I feel like this is really impactful for people. I'm teaching people how to be happy and how to overcome problems and insecurities and fears. Even if it's just one person, like, wow, I've done something for somebody. So
Yeah.
that's
I love it. And so 40-year company, you have a Connex box that you sell merchandise, and it's only to the people that walk in from all around the world to buy merchandise there. That makes more money than your 40-year-old established business.
significantly more
And
so.
I'm here to tell you guys what he does in the Connex box isn't even a scratch. It's not even a scratch. We do more in a day online than he does in the Connex box, all month. And so like it's pretty crazy.
And I'd also
Pretty,
like to add that Connex box gives, can I say that number?
yeah, you can. You can.
That
Yeah,
Connex box gives away about $40,000 of merchandise, 40,000 plus a year,
yeah.
and we didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
So
but it's good. It's good. And I think the most important thing is, and I want everyone to understand, if you're really serious about YouTube, got to take it serious. You got to become a student. I do a mentoring program. You can find it in the description below. It's called Channel Jumpstart. I'd encourage you to at least look into it. When you apply, I don't accept everyone. I'm sorry. I specifically pick the people that are going to be putting great content out there. They're not going to take the world down, but they're going to lift it up. And then also there's a certain type of mentality. I hate toxic Teds and I hate negative Nellies. I don't want to be surrounded by someone that's a naysayer and like let the Karens go over there and be in their own little world. I don't want to help them out. I want people that can see the opportunity, seize the opportunity. That's why I was really connected with Matt and ultimately became his partner in this as well. And so really, really excited about this. I find that in the comments below. Anything about Channel Jumpstart before we go, Matt?
like I said, it's something that I would never turn anybody away from. I would never ever tell anybody that they don't need it. If they really want to do this, if you really want to be successful on YouTube, this is a must-have
Yep.
course. Even if you think you know everything and you found a level of success that you're happy with, I promise you, you're missing something.
Yeah.
There's something here for you that will easily pay for the channel.
Very, very much so. He did it in one video. But anyway, for those that can't afford it, I have a 30-day creator challenge, a lot of great content there. And then I also have a very inexpensive book, which I'm going to give to another book too. And I don't know if you had that. Let's see. Let me get, who wants a book? Put I want a book in the chat right now, and I'll pick a couple real quick. First one is Brian Kelly. You get the book. Go ahead and do the time code. DM me on Twitter. Rob Thomas, you got that. Do the time code and DM me on Twitter. And then also, let's do Anime Rookie. I want a book. You got it here on it. Like, I'm telling you, this is like super valuable. And then I'm going to give you like a hint. Guess what? This is actually a trilogy. The book is a trilogy, believe it or not. I'm super excited about it because the next one we're actually doing right now is how to actually make the money on YouTube. Got some amazing case studies. In fact, Matt has some amazing case studies that's going to be showcased at VidSummit and also in my next book. So don't waste time. For those that didn't win, you can get the book on Amazon or find the link below. There's a ytaformula.com. Guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next one. Or if not, I'll see you at VidSummit. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.